Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming here today, the Mayor's Conference Room. I am Olga George, Mayor Gainey, and the City of Pittsburgh Press Secretary. Today, we'll have Interim Communications Director Sydney Cooper give you a briefing of all things interesting for the City of Pittsburgh. Sydney?
Good afternoon, everyone, and happy Monday to you. We are coming off a very busy, vibrant weekend here in the city of Pittsburgh, and I want to take a moment to directly acknowledge the recent violence in our city, including a shooting that took place in the city's East Liberty neighborhood and the large altercations that happened on the city's south side. The Gainey administration is fully aware of these incidents and will remain in close contact with public safety officials as the investigations continue into these unfortunate events. Let me be clear, there is no place for this type of violence in our communities. Mayor Gainey and this administration remain committed to working with law enforcement to ensure the safety of every resident. As we move into the summer months, a time when our pools and our parks and our public spaces come alive, I urge everyone to remain calm, stay safe, and above all, treat each other with respect. Let's come together, not in anger or aggression, but in unity, and work to ensure that every resident can feel safe to enjoy Pittsburgh this summer. As always, we are here to share important updates regarding key events, engagements, and happenings for Mayor Gainey and those that he will be attending this week, as well as updates on key initiatives and campaigns for the administration. On Tuesday, Mayor Gainey will welcome members of the National Organization of Minority Architects of Pittsburgh to the City County building for the presentation of a proclamation. Established in 2014, the Pittsburgh chapter of NOMA is home to a diverse group of talented and experienced designers and allied professionals with the shared goal of advancing professional equity in the architecture industry. The mayor is looking forward to presenting the proclamation to charter members of this organization. On Wednesday, Mayor Gainey will join the Department of Public Safety and the Pittsburgh Bureau of Police for the graduation of Bureau Class 24-03. Mayor Gainey is excited to provide the oath of office to the 28 new officers and welcome them to the city. And on Thursday, Mayor Gainey will have an audience with the Children's Sickle Cell Foundation for the second annual Founder Scholarship Luncheon. This event will celebrate 3 exceptional young adults living with sickle cell disease. This celebration comes at a time when families impacted by SCD face mounting uncertainty due to proposed Medicaid cuts and ongoing exclusion from national chronic disease registries, both of which hinder long-term solutions. Mayor Gainey looks forward to standing in solidarity with these families to ensure that they have access to resources needed to live healthy and full lives. And in the afternoon, Mayor Gainey is proud to commemorate the 25th anniversary of the City of Pittsburgh's Equal Opportunity Review Commission. The commission plays a vital role in advancing equity and inclusion in city contracting processes. The EORC is responsible for ensuring that minority business enterprises, women business enterprises, LGBTQ business enterprises, and other disadvantaged business entities have fair opportunities to participate in contracts funded by public dollars, including the City of Pittsburgh and our sister agencies. The mayor looks forward to welcoming the commission to the CCB to mark this momentous occasion as we continue to move forward with creating a city for all. And later in the evening, Mayor Gainey will hop on the ones and twos for Odyssey's Past the Aux event. Mayor will serve as one of several special celebrity guest DJs for the night to benefit the Mac Miller Fund. Moving to the weekend now, on Saturday, Mayor Gainey will have an audience with Live Venture By Choice Homes for the first annual Pathway to Home Ownership Symposium. The event will guide Pittsburgh residents through the home ownership journey from start to finish. As we work to address housing needs in the city, the mayor is proud to support this event, which continues to move Pittsburgh towards a future with increased home ownership statistics. And later in the day, Mayor Gainey will share remarks at the 6th annual World Square. This event educates our city and region about the diverse communities living in our area while providing immigrants and refugees with the opportunity to showcase their businesses, artists, makers, performers, food purveyors, and more from various international and newcomer communities. World Square is produced by the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs and the Pittsburgh Downtown Partnership. This is always a great event, one that reflects the rich diversity of our city, and we invite everyone to come and enjoy themselves. Saturday evening, Mayor Gainey will join the WAMO 107.3 and the Department of City Parks for the final event in the series of our Juneteenth festivities for WAMO Day. WAMO 107.3 made history in Pittsburgh June 19, 1993 to be the first organized celebration and remembrance of Juneteenth in Pittsburgh called WAMO Day. WAMO has partnered with the City of Pittsburgh on many special events, and it is an honor to collaborate once again for this showcase of Black talent and culture in Pittsburgh. As part of the festivities, Mayor will present keys to the city to several notable African-American leaders in recognition of their outstanding contributions. A few updates now. On Friday, Mayor Gainey and the Department of Mobility and Infrastructure held a ribbon-cutting ceremony for the Davis Avenue Bridge. The Davis Avenue Bridge reconstruction project reconnects the Brighton Heights community to Riverview Park. The new Davis Avenue Bridge will function as a bike and pedestrian bridge and feature modern building designs, materials, and insights while emulating the aesthetic established by the prior bridge. On the legislative front now, last week, Council President Lavelle and Councilman Mosley introduced amendments to 237 Stop the Violence Fund to City Council. Council President Lavelle and Councilman Mosley worked in collaboration with the administration on these amendments. Next week, the proposed amendments will move to standing committee. The amendments aim to reinforce the Stop the Violence Fund and enhance our city's ability to address gun violence as a public health crisis. Our objective is to formalize and build upon the valuable work that has already been done as we strive to achieve zero gun violence deaths here in the city of Pittsburgh. We will be sure to keep you updated on this as things unfold. Also this week, we are thrilled to share that the Affordable Housing Sale Pilot Program introduced by Mayor Gainey and the Finance Department in partnership with City Law passed standing committee after unanimous approval by City Council. The program is designed to streamline the process of purchasing city-owned properties directly from us. We look forward to this moving forward in a final vote by Council tomorrow. Shifting gears a bit in response to the current heat impacting our area, the city has activated its Emergency Operations Center to coordinate efforts and to ensure resident safety. City Parks has opened 6 cooling centers at various healthy, active living centers across the city to provide relief from the extreme temperatures. Those locations will be open from now until Wednesday from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. each day, and they include Beachview, Brighton Heights, Greenfield, Homewood, Sheridan, and the South Side. Additionally, 2nd Avenue Commons will serve as the Code Red overnight shelter and will be open from 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 a.m. for any residents in need of a safe air-conditioned space overnight. We ask that residents take precautions and check on vulnerable neighbors, including our seniors, young children, and those with any underlying conditions. On behalf of the City of Pittsburgh, I'd like to thank you all for coming to today's briefing. I will now open up the floor for questions.
Speaking to the violence in East Liberty,
Yes.
Is there any early discussions with the mayor's office or even following the situation where there could be increased efforts, whether with further policing or community efforts moving forward?
As I mentioned earlier, we are working closely with the Department of Public Safety to see if there are any additional resources or plans in the future that we need to put in place. Right now, we are considering this, this was the first weekend of summer, the first really hot weekend, and it was packed with events. So we know that a lot of times people get excited, they get out there, and things like this unfortunately take place, but we are working closely to see if in the future we need to dispose any additional resources. But right now, no plans in place because obviously we're in the early stages of just the investigation of all of these incidents.
And you kind of touched on it there with the proclamation
Yep.
or the advancement of the Stop the Violence Fund and
Yes.
the work you all have been doing. At this point, for folks at home, to put this in perspective, do you believe the fund itself is doing positive things in that regard? Is there, y'all are making progress?
I believe that the organizations that we have in place and that we have been able to fund in the past to do this great work are those that we need to have in place to be able to be in the streets and combat these types of incidents from happening. So I do feel in that respect that the STV grant is doing what they can do to do their part in preventing things like this from happening. OG?
And you know something, Carlos? I find it very interesting.
Yeah.
The only time people think about the Violence Fund is when something happens, but no one realizes how much work this organization is doing, these organizations are doing to prevent violences like this. In the past, the start of summer, you may have seen a lot more violence or more incidents, but as Sydney stated, this weekend, we had 2 incidents, but no one died. No one was overly injured. And as we stated before, we don't want violence. We don't want anyone to be hurt in any aspect. But a lot of the prevention is happening right now. They're doing that work. That's why we don't hear a lot about it. But the minute that there is one incident, everyone talks about, oh, you guys are not doing anything. They are doing the work. The REACH organization is doing work. The public safety, the officers are out there doing a lot of prevention. So this incident over the weekend is not a city bordering on violence. I want to make that clear, okay?
Is there any update as to the people that were injured last night in East Liberty as to their condition now?
We do know that they are all in stable condition at this time.
As for possible ages, are they younger folks? Can y'all release that at this point?
That information will need to come from our public safety PIOs.
Can you discuss anything about the Perrysville Avenue, 2600? It was after hours, there was a shooting outside of there on, I think it was Saturday.
So that will also need to come from our public safety PIOs to ensure accuracy. Okay. Any additional questions?
Do you have any numbers on people that used the shelters yesterday, by chance?
Okay.
No, it's Thursday.
That information, we're still waiting for those numbers from City Parks. Remember, the shelter just opened on Sunday at noon. So we're still gathering that information, and the shelters are going to be open until Wednesday. So by the end of today, we'll know exactly how many people actually used the shelter on Sunday, but we'll also be gathering the numbers from Monday. So I'll send something out to you guys at that point.
Going off that as well, is there any advice you have for the public who may need to use these shelters so that they can use them to the best of their ability?
Make sure they use the shelters. That's the main thing, because like the warming centers that we have, some individuals don't want to go. They think it's it's not worthwhile. We're saying to individuals, if you don't have a cool home, please go to the cooling centers. That's why we opened them. That's why they're there. Do not stay in a hot place. You're thinking you're protected because you're not outside. You can maybe be in a worse situation inside your home if you don't have air circulating. We don't, especially the elderly. So we're also asking everyone to be a good neighbor. Check on those who you know are elderly or who have mobility issues. Maybe they need a lift to a cooling center, but please do utilize our cooling centers.
And I would say as well, let's make sure we're staying hydrated, wearing light clothing if at all possible, and just making sure, like OG said, that we're utilizing those cooling centers.
And the pools.
And the pools.
Don't forget, we have 16 pools that are open.
Yes.
16 pools that are open. We have the spray parks that are also open. Use the spray parks, use the pools, stay hydrated, as Sydney said, stay cool, use the facilities that the city and your taxes do pay for. They're there for a reason.
Hey, can you talk about, is anybody going out to help any homeless people? Like, is the city going out to check on the camps or anything like that?
There's no encampment downtown. We do know there is an encampment over on the south side, and they have individuals who are making sure from, what's the department? I can never say.
OCHS.
OCHS. I can never get those letters right. The OCHS, they're doing that part, and we're quite sure if, there are other organizations that are also reaching out to them as well. So yes, the homeless are being looked at.
And sorry, not to bring it back to the Perrysville Avenue, I just had a couple of neighbors that came out to me and said that bar, it's called the Savvy. They said it's an after-hours bar, and they've been complaining about it. So I would be remiss if I didn't mention that is there anything in the works that you guys?
Since you're saying it's an after hours and maybe a nuisance bar, all those terminologies, that is definitely something that needs to come from the PIOs, the Public Safety Department. That would not have reached out to us.
I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this, but in the park in East Liberty, there's a city sign that says surveillance cameras are in use. Any indication that those cameras were on or rolling or captured anything?
And you know the answer to that. That is definitely something that needs to come from the Public Safety Department, the PIOs there. They will have the information if the surveillance cameras were rolling. I'm not sure how much information they'll be able to provide you with their investigation, but that's why we're directing you there to ask those questions.
When I spoke with some of the people in the neighborhood earlier today, they mentioned that on the weekends, the lights in the park area go off around 10 o'clock. Is there any plan to extend how long those lights are on going forward in
Well-
like the summer months?
That is a good question that we can check into. I know part of the reason why the lights come off is because when the certain parks are closed, that's when the lights go off in those areas. But that is something we can definitely check in on in regarding to the lighting situation. Any other questions?
All right. Thank you all for attending. Have a great day.